One in five suffer.
Erase the stigma.
Brain difference is not a crime.
Mental health isn't just your problem.
It's our problem.
And now, Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave.
Welcome to Mental Health Mondays. As every Monday, it turns out I'm Marla.
And I'm usually Dave. But I want to remind you guys that today's show is brought to you by Mental Health Mondays. And we need you to donate. Stop by loveandbeyondreason.org. Hit the Mental Health Mondays tab. Donate. Stop by NamiSanFernandoValley.org. And hit the Mental Health Mondays tab and donate there as well. Marla, you were saying.
What I was saying is, you said, usually I'm Dave. So when you're not Dave, who the hell are you? Who are you? That's scary.
I'm the spare tire. Ooh, what does that mean?
You can't be on the spare tire list, bro, when you're one of the four main tires. That's dumb.
Well,
anyway.
Our guest is DJ Head, one of LA's most prominent DJs, and he has spent over a decade helping the entertainment industry give back to the LA community through his charity work, fundraising, speaking at schools, and advocating for a clean lifestyle. He has dedicated himself to making his world a better place.
You know what? I have to jump in right here as well. As I said on my drive time in, DJ Head, it has become a personal friend. And for people who say LA, LA is so fake, there's nobody real. Real recognizes real. And so DJ Head became somebody who it was endeared to our family because his brand of truth is very rare, but certainly appreciated in this platform. So we wanted to have him on today because DJ Head has just organically done a lot to recognize and speak out in the community and really to be a help to many people who are suffering. I've been there and seen it personally. So I was like, man, no better person to actually represent than DJ Head. So thank you for joining us.
When we come back, our conversation with DJ Head.
Help someone who is struggling by supporting the National Alliance on Mental Illness and be a part of the NAMI effect. Hope starts with you.
Hey guys, listen up. Learn something.
All right, as Dave promised, we are back with the one and only DJ Head. DJ Head, thanks for joining us.
Greetings and salutations.
So first, every guest we have, we check in. And we check in and we always say, how's your today or how are you? Because, your state of mind matters honestly to us. Everybody's really does because very, very rarely. I'll even say this. Most people will say, hey, how you doing? They don't mean it. They don't really want you to tell them. They just say it's just something to be said. So when we say it, we mean it. How are you?
I'm good. I'm amazing, actually. I feel great. My mental is good. I'm in a good space. Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy, huh? Well, as a friend, you and I talked often, and I also, when I can, figure out how to stay up late because I'm an old lady, even though I don't look like one, sometimes I join you on Clubhouse, and I know recently, you have battled, you really didn't battle, but you had COVID. So,
yes.
We talk about that often on the show as well because there's a lot of mental health situations that have come up for a lot of people because of COVID, quarantine, not being able to socialize, not being able to go to school. It's created a whole nother level of mental health challenges for most people. So how are you?
No, I'm good. I think, actually, you know what? I utilized the COVID time as to really check in with myself, to be honest with you. And I did a lot of self-reflection. I did a lot of, I guess when you people say they have the come to Jesus conversation, I did a lot of that. I did a lot of soul searching. I did a lot of intrinsic prognosis, and some things. Most of the stuff that I came up with, I liked what I came up with. Some of the things that I didn't like, I'm definitely going to implement some change.
Now, you said that you had that moment. Is that not usually something that you have time to do because of your busy schedule, or you just had extra time, so the moment was much longer this time?
Both. I always do what I call like self audits.
Mm-hmm.
And because I posted this thing one time on my page saying that a lot of people look in the mirror to check what they're wearing. They don't look in the mirror to check their soul. And I kind of
Wow.
I utilize that as a common practice. Like I don't look in the mirror to see if these shoes go with this shirt. I look in the mirror to see if I like what I am, like who I am, like what I stand for, like what I believe in. Do I like what I'm about? Do I like how I present myself? And then once I check all of those boxes, then I proceed to the aesthetics. But I think that when I'm doing these things and when I'm conducting myself in public, that mirror comes in handy because it's not something that you're supposed to do just when you have downtime. I think it's something you do daily, like taking vitamins or brushing your teeth.
So I have a question, and I think I've talked to you personally about this before. I would love for you to speak to us about how hard it is. Well, let me back up. Let me first make a statement. My statement is one of the things that you're known for is clean living. You know, you don't drink and smoke. And to be honest, I met you at iHeartRadio station, and you 92.3 is where you actually are a prominent DJ. And it was random. My daughter Moniece was on doing another show, and I was there taking care of Cam, and Head came through the lobby. But there was so much truth in this dude that was he actually dissed me. I'm gonna be totally honest, which was very funny. And let me just keep it real. So he's not like that dude. He's not like, oh, you're Moniece's mom. Yeah, you want a cookie? You can have it. He was like, don't touch my food.
I got cookies.
Stop it.
Nobody's
gonna get them. He's like, if you want me to get you something, because I'll get you something. But you're not having any of
that
these.
cookie looked pretty thick, by the way. I have to say,
don't mess with him and his cookies. But the bottom line is, one of the things that I wanted to touch on is, we all know what community pressure. Let's not call it peer pressure at this point, because you're too big for that. But industry pressure. How much do you think that, for you, how have you been able to just stay you, manage your mental in a world that is nothing but community pressure?
I think, I just had a conversation about this with this young black man, because he's a young skateboarder by the name of Deshaun Jordan, phenomenal pro skateboarder, 24 years old, amazing. And I was talking to him about this, and it was really just about alignment of purpose. I understand that my purpose doesn't involve those things. Like, my purpose is, and I honestly, to keep it real, like, I was having a conversation with my big homie G Malone this morning about that, and I asked him a question, because it's something that amongst my audit, my self-reflection over the COVID quarantine was, am I a narcissist? And the reason why I wanted to know if I was a narcissist is because I have an inflated perception of self and purpose. And my inflated my inflated reflection of self or purpose, to me, is greater than peer pressure, community pressure, vices, relationships, friendships, and or otherwise. It's greater than me being tired. I'm off like 2.5 hours of sleep right now. And I wanted to take a nap earlier, but it was like, no, you have things to do. You have to accomplish this before you hop on with, Miss Marla and Dave. So it's like my I think my drive and my will allows me to operate in a different frequency than most human beings. And I think it disconnects me in a certain way, which is why I question if I'm a narcissist. But I also think that it propels me to supersede those temptations, to supersede those vices, to be basically, when it's like when you have we used to get this spray from Lids that we spray on our hats and our shoes, and if it get wet, the water would just beat up and roll off. It's essentially like car wax, right? So that's how I look at outside influence. It just rolls right off me.
All right, so we're about to go into a break, but I have to ask you this when we come back. I really want to know what your answer was, because you ask a question to a mentor or someone that is trusted, your big homie, and I want to know, when we come back from this break, what is the answer? Are you a narcissist or are you not? I want to know.
Well, I don't know what his answer is going to be to that, but I would dare say that if you question whether or not you're a narcissist,
you're not a narcissist.
Can't be a classic narcissist.
Shush up, Dave. I want to hear his.
I also want to hear DJ Head respond to the converse of his statement, and that is doing things that are outside of clean living don't align with his purpose. Does he think that there are some people whose purpose does align with non-clean living, doing drugs and drinking a lot?
That's a good question.
When we come back, the conversation is turning well, like we knew it would.
We'll
with
be back
DJ Head.
with Don't You Move. We'll be right back.
When Dave and Marla get together, it's hot.
You may not realize it, but these words, often used to describe someone with a mental health condition, can be very harmful. In a country where 1 in 5 people are affected by a mental health condition, it's time for all of us to step up and change the conversation. Just because someone's struggle isn't obvious on the outside doesn't mean they aren't hurting on the inside. We need to see the person, not the condition. Join with me, pledge to be stigma-free.
It's time for the Mental Health Minute with Marla and Dave. It's time for the
Mental health
mental
problems and substance use disorders sometimes occur together. According to mentalhealth.gov, this is because certain illegal drugs can cause people with an addiction to experience one or more symptoms of a mental health problem. Or mental health problems can sometimes lead to alcohol or drug use, as some people with a mental health problem may misuse these substances as a form of self-medication. There's also the mental health and substance use disorders share some underlying causes, including changes in brain composition, genetic vulnerabilities, and early exposure to stress or trauma.
More than 1 in 4 adults living with serious mental health problems also have substance use problems. Substance use problems occur more frequently with certain mental health problems, including depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, and personality disorders.
If you or someone you know is dealing with the dual diagnosis of a substance use disorder and another mental health condition, please seek professional help.
Brought to you by NAMI San Fernando Valley and Loving Beyond Reason.
David is a thinker.
I never do anything without thinking about it first.
Marla is a feeler.
I basically wear my personality on my sleeve.
But when Marla and Dave get together, it's like a match dancing with a firecracker.
All right, before we even get the question answered, I just want DJ Head to give me I want him to give me a rating on my representation of being down with your West Coast. Am I West Coast?
I mean, you do all right.
I worked hard at this. I have a shirt that's, all about Skid Row, city limits. It's awesome. It's like a thing. Anyway.
So we had a pretty compounded question.
Well,
so do you want to recap?
Yeah.
Why don't you recap
so the
for
first
us?
thing is that, Head was very forthcoming in sharing with us that when he looks in the mirror and his self-reflection, he doesn't look at himself to approve his clothing or his look, but it's to check in with himself and who he is as a human and whether he's good with himself. And so he actually reached out to someone he trusts and asked, because he has, this deep sense of purpose that seems to rise above, is he a narcissist? Yes or no was the question he asked about himself. So I said, when we come back, I want to know the answer that you came up with about yourself being a narcissist, yes or no.
Well, basically the diagnosis we came up with, and we're both not licensed at all in anything, right? Other than to drive a car in California. But what we both came up with is that I have narcissistic tendencies and qualities, but I don't have enough, because he looked up, I guess it's 7 or 9. I don't remember what number it was.
It's 9.
It's 9. Okay. He looked up the 9 characteristics of a narcissist, and I only have about 3 of them or something like that. So
it's not enough. You got to have at least more than half. You got to have 5 to 6.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, I have characteristics of a narcissist. So I'm not necessarily a narcissist, but I also have those qualities though.
Well, let me help you on a clinical level. Dave brought it
Okay.
up, and Dave said it. I'm just going to conclude, and then Dave's question will proceed from there. The mere fact, to be totally honest, we have them in our family, and people we know very closely, narcissists don't stop to ask if they're a narcissist.
Not usually.
So let's just keep that as a number one trait. Not even not usually. Never. An actual real narcissist doesn't say, "Hey, you think I could be a narcissist?" They don't do that.
Well, because by definition, a narcissist wouldn't care whether or not anyone else thought they were a narcissist.
Everything filters through themselves. But move it along.
So no, I was also interested in you made a statement that your purpose didn't aligned with clean living. And so do you think the converse of that, it could also be true? There are some people's purpose that should align with taking drugs or becoming an alcoholic or doing things of this nature.
Could it be purpose driven?
Yes and no. So yes, based on the sense of it depends on what your purpose is. And this is what I was talking to Ms. Marla about earlier as far as what I call the address, right? And I don't want to get too far into it because I'm writing a book right now, but the address is essentially is where you're going. What's your destination in life? What you're trying to attain? The way I always tell like people who, interns and when I go to schools and I talk to kids, is I tell them to look at the finish line and then reverse engineer how to get there. Your life is kind of set up like maps, like a GPS in your phone, right? So if I was to come to the studio where you are now, you would give me the address, I would put it in my phone, and I would get a clear route how to get there. Mm-hmm. I believe that that's how life works as well. So once you lock in on where it is that you're supposed to be going or a goal you're trying to obtain, you have to do that first before you start driving. Otherwise, you burn up gas driving around in your 20s like I did. So that being said, some people's purpose could align with those experiences so that they can then regurgitate those experiences to others for the benefit of them. But a lot of people, I don't believe they have found their purpose because underlining success and goals is really just the surface level of what it really is. And it's really your purpose. Like, why were you born? Why were you put on this earth? Right. So that being said, I think that once somebody goes through these things, they then have to find ways to give back and pour into other people's cups. So if that's their purpose, then they were supposed to go through these things. It's like Hov said, like there's a Jay-Z line for every situation in life. Hov did that. So hopefully you wouldn't have to go through that.
So
Well,
so wait a minute.
So
there's the Bible and there's
clear,
Hov. Is that what you're saying? There's like biblical.
I honestly relate more to Hov than I do the Bible. If I'm keeping it real,
all right.
That's a whole.
So just to be clear, you're not saying that someone's using your semantic, someone's address is just a party, do drugs and drink. You're saying that could be something that they experience so that they can help somebody else.
It depends. Like I have a delusion of grandeur, and I believe that my purpose is greater than the things that I experience. But I also believe that my purpose is not for me. I don't believe. I believe I believe that once I understood that my life is actually not about me, that's when things started to better in my life. So it all depends on each individual path is different. I believe in divinity, and that's what I was talking to Ms. Marla about too. Like divine intervention is real. And so I believe in God, right? So I believe that there could be like, I'm sitting on the 5th floor and I'm looking over the freeway right now, right in this office building. There could be like a 20-car pileup on that freeway. And that 20-car pileup could just be the stimulus to slow traffic down there. So that way somebody gets off the freeway and doesn't continue on the path to not hit some child in Glendale. And that child could grow up to be president of the United. Like it just, I believe
there's so many things, right? Divine tapestry is what I call it.
Yeah, so I believe in those types of things to where it's beyond our comprehension.
Well, sounds like the seeding of a great conversation also could be another conversation because that's kind of the conversations that I like to get into.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say, and I have a
very philosophical in perspective.
When we come back from this next break, I'll open the segment with an antidote that actually speaks to what Head is saying that relates to you.
Okay.
Stay tuned for that. Don't move. We have so much interesting conversation to have, which is why we asked DJ Head to do 2 episodes with us. Stay tuned. We'll be back for another segment with DJ Head. You don't want to miss one word. We'll be right back.
All right, the fun music means what, Marla?
Oh God, I'm tired of you making me be a seat pole dancer.
You have, oh yeah, no, okay, oh man, that was a facetious pole dance that is now morphing into something else. But hey, we love it. Marla, what was the poll question last week?
Last week we asked the question, which one of these conditions are you most likely to develop? Diabetes, cancer of any kind, mental illness, or heart disease? Head, you want to cast your vote on this? I'll ask again. Which one of these conditions are you most likely to develop?
Most likely to develop.
Diabetes, cancer of any kind, mental illness, or heart disease?
Well, I'm going to go mental illness by deductive reasoning.
That's very good use of your deductive reasoning. The answer is C, mental illness.
You're a DJ and a smartass. Okay.
The poll question for next week is, what percentage of Americans live with a serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression? Your options are A, 1%, B, 4%, or C, 7%. Head, what you got?
I'm going to go C, 7%.
All right.
So well, we won't know until next week, but everyone's going to tune in to find out if you're right or wrong. Is Head full of is he in his head? We'll know next week, but by all means, tune into any of our social media sites and vote, because your opinion and voice matters a lot to us as well. So make sure that you vote. We'll be back.
All right, now, Marla, you did say that you were going to come back with an antidote. I'm not sure if you meant anecdote.
I said anecdote.
Oh, I thought you said anti.
Did I say anti?
I think
I don't think I did. But
I think we could all use an antidote nowadays.
and before we get to the story that you're going to bring up, when you contracted the virus, did it make you more pro or less inclined to get with the vaccine?
He's already vaccinated.
I understand.
I was already on board with the vaccine before that. I got the first shot, and then 2 weeks later, I tested positive, and I had like a runny nose for 2 days, and that was it.
So you will then give that first dosage credit for actually limiting your symptoms.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I don't see the thing is, I mean, to be honest with you, I think that the dude who tested me gave me COVID.
You think he had COVID?
It's the black conspiracy at all times.
I think that the swab he swabbed me with was a contaminated swab. I don't know, bro. Like, to be honest, I have no idea.
So you have to quickly tell the quick story, because you and I are friends, so we kind of talked about this privately.
Okay, so I have to go to Lollapalooza, right? So I have to go to Lollapalooza. In order to get to Lollapalooza, I have to get a negative COVID test. So I'm like, all right, on my way to the airport, I get in there, I go take a test. The guy kind of doesn't really know what he's doing like that. He's like, I've taken a million COVID tests like everybody else for the last year and a half. So he's doing things that I don't recognize. Like, he's going in different compartments that I've never seen. He's digging through stuff. So then he's like all the way, he's not even in my brain at this point. He's touching the back of my skull, and he's back there. And I'm like, hey, that's enough. I'm about to sneeze. And I'm telling him to move, and he's not moving. I don't know what he's looking for, right? So as he's doing that, he's done. He then puts it up. He's like, all right, you're done. We're going to email your results. Cool. I'm on my way off. I'm on my way. I'm like, they're going to send me the results. By the time I get to the airport, boom.
Right.
He calls me and says, hey, yeah, you have COVID. You know, you got to. Like, I don't think that's how it works, bro. Like, I don't know if that's protocol for you to call my cell phone and just tell me I got COVID. Like, you didn't verify no address or no birth date, nothing. You just called me and tell me I got COVID. Like, so as I'm dealing with him, he's not really emailing my results. Long story short, by that time, the LA Department of Public Health was already notified. I was flagged, went back to the house, quarantined 2 weeks.
But tell me right quick why you felt like this might have been, like, what was the upside for this for you? What was it?
Well, what you mean?
Well, in other words, we were talking just briefly, and we didn't get a chance to actually get into it. But you were saying,
oh, it was no upside. I think that it was divine intervention, because, again, going back to the address conversation that we just had.
Yeah.
My address. Okay, I'm gonna try to keep it quick, but my address basically aligned with 3 people because I didn't know where I was going. And when I was in my 20s, so a mentor of mine told me to pick 3 people who I want my life to look like. One, I said Big Boy. Why? Because I want to be known as the LA radio guy no matter what I do. 2 is a guy named, he passed away. His name was DJ AM. He was doing cool
I know who
stuff.
that
He was
is.
DJing in the Iron Man movie. That's himself. I wanted to do cool stuff like that. Number 3 was Rob Dyrdek. Why? Because Rob Dyrdek makes a living being himself, and he puts all his homies in position. So at that point, my mentor was like, well, why are you going on tour and DJing for rappers? Why are you DJing in strip clubs? Everything you just said has nothing to do with what you're actually doing right now. That's where I got the concept from my book called The Address. It's kind of basically figure out where you're going to deduce how to get there, right? That being said, fast forward to me going to Lollapalooza, I was going to DJ for a rapper. So that being said, just like in GPS, like I said, that's how your life is set up. Anytime you go off course, life will recorrect you.
Come on.
And I feel like God was like, hey, you getting off course. That's not what you agreed to in 2012 when you figured out your address. I need to recorrect you. And I think he sat me down for 2 weeks, prevented me from doing all these festivals with this rapper. And now I am back at the radio station.
Refocused on your address. I love that. Marla, you had an anecdote.
The anecdote is this, that we talked about all those things, and you speak openly as well. And we've known each other since we were 6 and 8. And when you were a teenager, you were quite a menace. And, you know, between smoking weed and doing all kind of stuff. And then when you finally got into the discipline of Take 6, which you were drafted into, you were like, that's not what I want to do. But it was the thing at the time. You wanted to, you know, that you wanted to do music, but that's not the lane you saw yourself going in. And you just became one of the original members of the group, happenstance based on your talents. And your whole life, you met me, and I said, get rid of that marijuana or get rid of me.
Well, just like what Head was saying,
I'm serious, and here you are.
A lot of times, and I can understand just from experience when a young artist or a musician or a creator will say, I'm way more creative when I smoke weed or drink or do something like that. And I say that might be true, but you have to admit that your facility is slightly a little bit more challenged when you are in another state of mind. And the type of stuff that my group was doing, Take 6, it just wasn't appropriate. You couldn't really be in there doing the stuff that we did, not having your full mental facility on fleek, ready to go and just over the top. So it just wasn't something that would work out for me, period.
Well, I think also to touch on that is it's environmental too. Like in where I come from, it's not really smart to not be in your right state of mind. Like it's a survival skill as well. Like I used to see people get drunk and they not even know that there's a fight broke out and those hoods is over there and they go into their car. And it's like you just like, oh, like, so it just became also second nature for me. And also I didn't see any growing up. I grew up around substance abuse all my life. I never saw any success stories out of it. I never saw any multi-millionaires and billionaires, you know, drunk or high or intoxicated or anything like that. So I was just like, that's not my path.
Wow.
Well, that's deep unto itself, and that's a lot of perspective at a young age. So kudos to whoever actually gave you that perspective, who raised you.
Or
kudos
God
to that person
as well, that he could actually internalize that and use it to his benefit. Don't move. We're going to conclude with episode 1 of Head. We'll be right back.
Bad.
What are you doing?
Worthless.
Don't trust them.
They'll hurt you.
You're worthless.
It's pointless.
When the pain of schizophrenia meets hope, everything can change. Help someone who is struggling by supporting the National Alliance on Mental Illness and be a part of the NAMI effect. Hope starts with you.
It's raw, real, and unfiltered.
Well, as usual, I always just have to give complete kudos and just praise to anybody who's willing to come on and just so clearly share their personal journey. There's so much to cover with this gentleman, DJ Head, on so many levels. But we're talking about Mental Health Monday, and you know we started with DJ Head and his own state of mental health and how he has actually managed and balanced who he is as a person.
Because mental wellness is also very important.
Absolutely. And so we've asked you to please join us on episode 2, which will air next week. And so there's more. There's so much more. And when we come back, I'm going to ask DJ Head on episode 2, we're going to get into what he sees in the community. I love to suss out problems or things that he wants to improve on. And then I can talk to you a little bit about what I've seen as far as his input and what I've seen him do to help random people really just balance themselves. So there's a lot here to be talked about with DJ Head.
Thank you, DJ Head, for being a guest, not only this week, but next week as well. The conversation will continue. DJ Head, give us just a last word of that will actually inspire somebody that watched the show today.
Listen, protect your energy at all costs. I look at cancer. Cancer is a negative thing. It's a plague in our generation. And I just want to let people know that cancer comes in all forms, including humans. Remove the cancer.
Period.
Indeed.
Period. Because when you see him, you see me. When you see me, you see him. That's my best friend. Period. Don't mess with him.
Okay. This has been Mental Health Mondays with Marla and Dave and our guest DJ Head. We will see you next week.